Hi there, my name is Kelly Frazier, and you can call me Mrs. Frazier. I wanted to share with you how exciting it is that I find that you're here. And one of the things that I'm going to teach you today is how to create some movements and some actions with your puppet. And in fact, you don't even need a puppet. I'm not even going to use anything but my hand today. Now listen, did you know that in Scripture, God actually shares a story about a king, King Balaam, who got so angry that he struck his donkey 3 times. And the donkey finally was like, "Why are you striking me? You have struck me 3 times, but why?" And Balaam was saying, "Because you are making me mad." But there was an angel of the Lord present, and he allowed the donkey to speak. God wanted King Balaam to pay attention to him, so he used a donkey to speak through. So let me tell you this. A lot of people ask me, why are you using puppets to train children or to teach children? Because when we learn through puppets, we sometimes retain the information better. And if God could talk through a donkey, why can't he talk through you using a puppet, right? So this is the exciting part right now, guys. I want you to fully understand that I'm here because God called me to be here with you. He literally woke me up one night and he told me to talk to you, the children, because you are going to glorify his name. How amazing is that? So let's get started. Like I said, you don't need anything. You don't need a puppet. All you need right now is your hand. So we're going to do a quick start guide so that you can enhance your skills already even before you begin this course, okay? Tip number 1, control your puppet from the moment you put your puppet on your hand. These movements are going to be controlled by you. It is completely up to you what your puppet does. So if I'm talking to my puppet and my puppet is staring at you, if I move my hand to the side, it makes it look as if my puppet's paying attention to me, right? Exactly. And then it can look back at you, and then it can turn back to me. You see? And it almost makes my hand come to life, doesn't it? Okay, so here's tip number 2. When you are trying to do any kind of lip syncing or beats or syllables or certain words, your hand needs to make a punching movement as it talks. That way, it looks as if your hand is doing the talking. You see? So all you need to do is just practice movement first. You can cock your head to the side or to the other side. You can look up to the sky. You can look down to the ground, and you can turn it so that it's looking directly at you, right? The second tip was to use syllables and beats when you want your puppet to talk. So let's just give it a voice. Hello there. How are you? So you see, as I move my hand, it is actually talking as though it has a British accent. And it actually looks real, does it not? So you see what I'm saying? When you are using your puppet, you want those movements to punch. Punch, like not necessarily like that, unless you're trying to yell. When a puppet has to yell, then it gets larger movement, right? So that's tip number 2. Now tip number 3 is to focus on the top of the head. So your eyes need to look directly into the camera. So if my hand is here and it's looking directly at you, and if I had 2 eyeballs right here on my hand, then you would actually see that your puppet is totally paying attention to what you're saying. If I'm looking off over here to the side as I'm talking to you, it doesn't really make you feel like I'm present with you or paying attention to you, right? But if I look this direction, like my puppet looking directly at you, then it's making eye contact. Very, very important when you're using your puppeteering skills. Tip number 4 is learning how to keep your puppet grounded. So if your puppet is going to be walking, for an example, then you would want your puppet to make these up and down movements, right? As if it actually is taking a step. A lot of puppeteers, instead of actually making them step or look like they're stepping, they make them float. They just move the puppets like this. You don't want your puppet to float because you want it to look fairly real. So you want to actually give it some steps and movements up and down. It makes it look like it's walking. Now, if it has to run, then you want it to move faster, right? So this is how you keep your puppet grounded. That way it looks more realistic. All right, tip number 5 is to make your puppet breathe. So we breathe, right? But you don't necessarily see us breathe unless we Take a really deep breath like that. And then we blow it out. So puppets can't breathe, but you can actually make them breathe. So let's pay attention to the puppet and see if you can tell when your puppet is breathing, okay? Do you see my puppet breathing? Now, if during the breathing time that you wanted your puppet to yell for some reason, he would breathe out, breathe in, and go, "What are you doing?" That takes breath. So normally your puppets are not really going to be doing a lot of breathing, but sometimes you need to pay attention to those tiny little details because sometimes we need to make our puppets look like they're breathing. Let's just say that your puppet ran. Well, what happens to you when you run? You get out of breath, right? And you're going like this. You can make your puppet do the same thing. There you go. That's the breathing. Tip number 6 is if your puppet has very specific movements, let's just say that maybe you wanted to do a TikTok video. So if you have a movement that you want your puppet to do, maybe it's dance and it's a lot more important to your character that you're doing a dance movement. Well, you want to make sure that your puppet is actually doing some dance movements. Again, if you're just making them float, it's not really going to look as if they're dancing because when we dance, we move our bodies, right? If you have a stick in the puppet's arm, then use that arm and that stick to actually make the movement. Or if you don't have any arms, just make the puppet move. You can twist and turn, you can bounce up and down, you can nod your head down, you can even spin around down below. You can do anything you want to. You just want it to look natural. Tip number 7 is the personality of your puppet. So what is your character traits for your puppet? Are they small? Are they big? Are they energetic? Are they sad? Are they happy? What are the emotions that they have? These are the things that you learn in the FTG Puppetry Academy. This is why it's really important if you want to do actual shows or if you want to put on a puppeteering show, then it's really important to learn these tips because these are so helpful to make your character actually come alive. So if a puppet is happy, they're going to have a mouth wide open for happy, right? If they're sad, then their head is bent down. If they're angry, you're going to take your hand and make this kind of a gesture with their mouth. You're going to pull it in and make them look angry. Sometimes it'll be their eyes. Maybe their eyebrows might move. So you just get to determine what the personality and the emotions are around the character traits of your puppet. The small distinctions that you use are going to be very important to your puppet, into the movements, into the hand and eye coordination. Everything that you're doing with your puppet and your puppet character will actually bring it to life for your audience. I hope that you've enjoyed these tips on puppetry. I hope it's super helpful. I just wanted to get these quick tips out to you and to let your parents know as well that Fetch the Goodness is here to teach you far more than what I've taught you today. So I hope that you join us in Puppeteering Academy.